Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates. In this video we're going to be having a look at the mid to long range with the GFS, the GEM, the ECMWF and the GFS ensembles, and then we'll have a look at the precipitation charts over the next few days with the GFS, the GEM, the icon, and then we'll have a look at the live radar and the weather warnings enforced by the Met Office. Do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you do like and subscribe, as it does really help me out. Currently we're looking at the GFS run, and you can see these easterly winds that we've been pulling in over the last few days, which is bringing very, very cold conditions to many parts. You can see the cold air is starting to get cut off. We're still quite cold, and it's going to be cold until around Saturday quite widely. But the higher pressure is sort of losing strength. It's still there. We could be still pulling in a sort of brisk southeasterly wind. Now, the coldest air is not going to get there, but the dew points are still going to be quite low, so it's going to still feel very cold, and quite a significant wind chill with that as well. Further westwards, especially southwestwards, there are warm, milder temperatures coming in, and we're actually seeing some snow today as those weather fronts start to encroach on the UK. Now, if we run through, you can see the high pressure is always there, but it does lose its influence, and we start to bring in southwesterlies for next week, which will start to turn it milder. Not very, very mild, but again, probably around average to above average, probably with some precipitation as well as these weather fronts come in. But remember, high pressure is never too far away, so high pressure could always make inroads and potentially pull us colder again. You can see it's still a battleground between that low pressure in the Atlantic and the high pressure over towards Europe. But in this current GFS one, we are continually bringing up a southwesterly wind, which by the end of next week will be bringing up quite mild conditions to quite most areas of the country. Now, it's not going to be very, very mild, but it's going to be reasonably mild. It's going to feel a lot warmer than we've seen over the last few days, quite considerably warmer. Potential for getting into double-digit highs, potentially with that. Again, it does depend on wind direction, rain, as if that wind direction did come off the near continent, we'd probably be pulling in some colder air near the surface, so it would restrict temperatures a little bit. Beyond that, we do maintain this sort of southerly push of pressure build, and warmer temperatures still building in. Under that, it's too early to say whether we could be seeing an inversion with that, so it could be colder during the nights especially, but with high pressure over the top of the country, it's looking like it will be very dry and probably generally mild in the days, potentially maybe colder at nights, before we start to go into a more flat westerly pattern, which would be changeable conditions, probably a bit milder in the south especially, but again quite wet and windy further northwards. As we head towards the end of the GFS run, you can see the GFS maintains sort of that westerly pattern, potentially building some higher pressure towards Greenland and starting to pull some colder air in from the north, but it's not really confirmed at the moment, and again, it's very difficult to tell at the moment what's going to be happening really out of the 7 to 10 day time frame, considering the amount of uncertainty we've been having with the blocking around. If we have a look at the GM run, you can see again very similar pattern over the next couple of days, got that battleground situation. You can see quite brisk southerly winds, but coming off the near continent, it's still going to be reasonably cool in the southeast before much milder temperatures come in from the southwest, and probably will bring most areas to high single figures, if not double digits, by sort of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Beyond that, high pressure remains to our east, but low pressure definitely does take more of a hold. Before the end of the run, high pressure builds much further to our north than on the GFS. We do go drier, and we probably do go temporarily a bit milder, but as you can see, yeah, on the western flank it's much milder, but on the eastern flank it's going much colder. So a slight change in this could bring very cold air back in, especially to eastern and southeastern areas again. So interesting with the GM shifting that higher pressure further northwards, potentially bringing some colder air come at the end of next weekend. It's just really one to watch, as again, is what happens with this high pressure. It's a very the models do struggle when it in terms of forecasting blocking patterns. In the sort of out of 7 day time frame, they can be a bit volatile, so it'll be interesting to see whether this does firm up over the next few days, exactly where this higher pressure is going to be going. As if it does sit to our east, it could be bringing up quite a mild and even warm southerly wind, we could be seeing a taste of spring. However, it sits further northwards and further westwards, we could be going back into an easterly pattern. Now, if we have a look at the ECMWF, you can see high pressure again out to our east. It does definitely look like low pressure will win out. Before we see the end of the run, high pressure moves much further northwards than on both the GFS and the GM. And you can see we are pulling in a easterly wind. Now, if we have a look at the upper air temperatures on that, you can see it's not brutally cold, but coming off the continent, which will be reasonably cold, especially towards the lower levels, we could be bringing some colder air, quite damp, cloudy, and reasonably cold. Not brutally cold, nothing like we've had this week, at least on this run with this orientation of the high pressure, but it would be definitely a lot colder than sort of what the GFS and the GM is showing. So just show you, whatever happens to this high pressure could severely impact whether we do see milder temperatures continuing by the end of the next week, or we start to see a return to colder temperatures. Now, there are hints we do eventually return to colder temperatures in some of the longer range models and some of the ensemble members, but it's not a done deal, and again, it's really down to whatever happens with the orientation of the high pressure. If we have a look at the GFS ensembles, we'll switch to temperature and precipitation. You can see very cold at the moment. We're going to remain cold. This is for London, so further westward you go, this rises a bit quicker and sooner. And you can see it doesn't go very mild with the upper airs, but it goes mild enough to bring temperatures to around average, to maybe just above average, with some precipitation as well. Nothing too severe at the moment, it's looking like, but a decent amount of precipitation. And then beyond that, you see it's more of a high pressure build. Now, we do see a lot of ensemble members, including the operational run, going quite mild with the upper airs. Again, it's very difficult to say whether this will be actually mild on the surface, as again, it really does depend on the wind pattern around the higher pressure. As if you're centered right towards the middle of the high pressure, there's a chance we could be seeing an inversion with winds falling lighter, which would bring down the temperatures at night and probably a little bit during the day before the sun gets going. Again, it could trap a lot of cloud under the higher pressure, and it's too early really to say what we'll be seeing. It's definitely going to be higher pressure. As you can see, precipitation does really peter out in the longer term. But again, you can see there are quite a few colder ensemble members, even some in the shorter term, sort of end of next week, going down to -10, -15 at 850 HPA, which is sort of getting towards the temperatures we've been seeing this week. In the longer term, there are maybe 4, 5, 6 ensemble members, so about a quarter of the ensemble members, maybe a quarter to a fifth of the ensemble members are showing a return to colder weather again towards the last week of February, and that's really one we've got to watch, as that could actually come to fruition if we look at longer term ensembles and models. So just going to be interesting to see what happens, but at least next week it does definitely look like it's going to be turning quite a bit milder, and it's going to feel quite warm compared to this week, especially in the sun. The sun is getting repeatedly stronger every single day, and that's why we've seen a lot of snow melt in certain areas where we haven't had deep snow cover the last few days, and it's really going to benefit next week and probably push the temperatures up into low double digits. So we could be seeing a little bit of a taste of spring next week. I don't really want to call it too early at the moment, but we could be seeing a taste of spring in some regions before it could trend a little bit cooler in the longer term. We'll now have a look at the precipitation charts, because there is still some snow and potentially freezing rain we've got to look at over the next couple of days. And you can see at the moment we've got a bit of snow flirting with Ireland and the western parts of England. I've seen a bit of snow today, and I've seen a good few centimetres here or there. Some southwestern areas actually seeing some decent snow if you're further inland and over a bit of higher ground. Towards the coast it is looking like at the moment on the radar, and we'll show you that in a minute, it is still rain. Beyond that, you can see a few snow showers into northeastern areas, but generally they are confined mainly to northern areas. Many southeastern areas remaining fairly dry, potentially for a few snow showers on Friday. But again, it's difficult to see whether that comes actually going to happen. As you see, over the course of Saturday, you can see a big weather front moves in, but it really does struggle against the block, and it fizzles out towards Wales, western parts of England, western parts of Scotland and southwest England. Again, could provide a bit of snow, not too much, as it does look like it will fizzle out quite quickly, but again, could see a few centimetres. Before overnight Sunday, we see some more snow over Scotland, and a more active weather front finally does look like it's going to break through the block. Could be some snow on on the leading edge, but it looks like with all these weather fronts moving in, it's going to be a gradual increase in temperature. So we're not going to see a weather front where it's sort of a 10-degree difference. It's looking like at the moment it's going to be sort of slowly increasing with every single one of these weather fronts before a big weather front moves in. So most areas will actually be a little bit too mild for snow come Sunday evening. So it looks like it mainly rain, maybe snow over higher ground and towards the northeastern edge potentially before it breaks through and provide us into a much milder southwesterly flow. But within that we could see, especially further northwards with some of these weather fronts, we could see some freezing rain where the ground is very cold, surfaces are still very cold. We see milder air coming the upper airs. It's likely we could see a period of freezing rain, which would be very dangerous indeed, and it's very difficult to forecast more than a couple of days out, more than probably 24 hours out actually, and it's really one to stay on top of the Met Office warnings, as they'll be looking at that quite vigorously, as it does have quite a severe impact. Even if it's only an hour or two of freezing rain, it could give a coating and could provide some dangerous conditions. If we have a look at the GM run, see a very similar pattern to the GFS with the rain and snow over Ireland and southwestern England. For another weather front has a go, again really fizzles out over Wales, southwestern parts, shows more snow on the GM, and the GFS was showing a bit more rain towards the southwest, so it'll be interesting to see what that, but some areas in the west which haven't seen a lot of snow this week could see a little bit of snow from this, maybe a few centimetres, maybe 5 centimetres or so from this. Eastwards it's remaining fairly dry, and then we see that big push of the weather front moving through, and again mostly rain in the south, maybe some snow on the northeastern edge and towards Scotland, and again probably some freezing rain in there as well, again one to watch before turning much milder from the southwest. If we have a look at the icon run, which is again a more high resolution model, so it should resolve it a little bit better at this stage, you can see snow and rain again quite patchy at the moment, as we'll look at the radar in a minute, in the southwest and western parts of Ireland. And then some snow showers for northeastern areas before a more active weather front moves in. Again, peters out over Wales. Just like Wales, Northern Ireland, maybe southwestern areas could see decent amount of snow. Again, 5 centimetres, maybe a little bit more here or there as these weather fronts move through, as it does look like they will stall and fizzle out over the top. Again, if they do fizzle out slower than forecasted, again, just a couple hours more of snow could provide deeper cover and more dangerous conditions. So it's really one we have to watch with what's going to be happening with that, and I'll probably update that again tomorrow, having a more detailed look at these weather fronts. Beyond that, we can see quite another quite active weather front moves in, providing mainly rain, but again snow and potentially some freezing rain for northern areas, northeastern areas. So it does look like Sunday's going to be mainly quite wet for Monday. Dries down again, maybe except for parts of the southwest areas where we see potentially another weather front moving in. We'll now have a look at the current radar for the United Kingdom. And if we get it to load, you can see at the moment there is snow inland parts of southwestern areas. I'm seeing it's quite heavy in some of these bursts, but again, it is patchy. It's not a sort of big wall of snow. It's quite patchy, but areas inland from the coast and from the extreme southwestern areas have seen some snow today. It's been on and off, but you could see a few centimetres there, and we have seen these weather fronts moving up northwards through Ireland, and behind it some milder air, so it's turning to rain further southwards and towards the coast, but mainly snow towards northern areas, and it does look quite heavy where it is snowing at the moment. Again, patchy, but if you are in the middle of one of these bigger areas of snow, you could see again a few centimetres of snow with that. If you look more northeastern areas, you can see a line of snow showers potentially moving into eastern areas overnight tonight. Again, only looks like at the moment to really affect coastal areas and not get too far inland, as the wind is not as strong. Again, tonight we could have quite cold temperatures, probably not as low as the minus 23 we saw last night, but potentially getting down to maybe minus 20 again, or at least low minus teens. Widely though, for the rest of England, Wales, Northern Ireland, Scotland, and parts of Ireland as well, it'll probably be around maybe minus 3, minus 4, and then local spots with snow cover and sort of colder spots could be seeing maybe minus 5 to minus 10 degrees, and then the really cold temperatures really for Scotland at the moment. Finally, we'll have a look at the Met Office warnings. You can see snow and ice warning for northeastern areas for those snow showers moving in. Again, mainly confined to the coast, especially for England, maybe a bit further around in Scotland, but it shouldn't really come too much from that. Maybe just topping up some snow that they've already seen up there. shouldn't be anything too significant. You can see the snow and ice warnings for Wales and southwestern parts at the moment. Again, they look like they've been pretty accurate. Perhaps not the Wales one. Doesn't look like the weather front's got that far northwards, and that does expire 11 o'clock tomorrow. So there's potential. There's potential for that to move in there tomorrow, so just one to watch with the radar. And then for southwestern areas, it does look like this has been mainly the focus of any snowfall today. Again, apart from the coastal areas, it's looking like mainly snow inland, but it will be turning milder over the course of sort of tomorrow into Saturday, as milder air digs in, and again, southwestern and western areas in general will always be getting that milder air first. Finally, on Saturday, we do still have a snow and ice warning for those weather fronts moving in. Again, rough area where it's going to stall. Again, the Met Office are looking at potentially 1 to 4 centimetres and possibly 5 to 10 centimetres over higher ground. And then 15 centimetres potentially over higher ground. So again, it's a difficult one to see. At the moment, it's potential for high impact but low likelihood. As you can see, it was where that weather front really fizzles out, where it does fizzle out and still have a bit of juice. That's where we could see the highest snow totals, and that could be over the Irish Sea, or it could be over Wales and sort of western Scotland. So again, it's really one to watch. It does look good for Northern Ireland. Looking at all those models, Northern Ireland could see quite a decent amount of snow along with other parts of Ireland before milder air will dig in. So it's going to probably be a snow event, and then potentially a bit of rain on the back edge and milder air coming in on Saturday into Sunday. So probably won't hang around for too long, the snow, so it shouldn't be causing too many disruptions, especially on the weekend. But anyway, thanks for watching. I'll update you again tomorrow on the latest with all the potential snow. Subscribe to you, and I'll see you again tomorrow.